Hello. This was a post on media.com, but for some reason or another, the post disappeared. I mean, when I log into medium.com, it's still there, but if I try to search it, I try to Google it, for example, I can find it. So I decided to do two short videos on the same subject. First, I'll take a look at Neil Gaiman's birth chart, and then I'll try to locate the birth of Dream when the first issue of the Sandman was published. I'm a huge Sandman fan. I don't read comics anymore, but I like them a lot. I still have them on my bookshelf. I like Neil Gaiman in general. I find he's funny and he's entertaining. And my kids love Coraline. But I like The Endless of the Sandman more. One of the funniest pastimes an astrologer and a student of astrology has is to try to find characters or songs or movie plots or movie titles in artists' charts, and I'll try to do that with Mr. Gaiman. I'm not going to judge it in depth. I'm just going to point out some general things, and I'll try to locate the endless, all seven of them in his chart, right? Because the birth chart is a symbolic matrix of possibilities and some of them live out in our lives, some of them live, if you're an artist, of course, some of them live out in art, and sometimes in a very clear fashion, as I think it's the case here, really. And let's start it. Before getting to the chart itself, I have to admit that the source of the chart data is not very sound. Astro Databank says it's based on what he said to someone over an autograph session. He's quoted as saying around 6:30 in the evening. But anyway, that's the only chart we have, so that's the chart we're going to use. Some very brief general points on that. He was born in Port Chester in the United Kingdom, November the 11th, 1960. As I said, 6:30 p.m. or so it seems. I'm not going to calculate the temperament, but it's definitely melancholic. Mr. Gaiman is cold and dry. The ruler of the first house here, the ruler of the ascendant, is Mercury. So Mercury signifies him in the chart. Articulate. In Scorpio, a mute sign, a water sign, not very talkative. More important for us here, for what I want to do, is not the Lord of the first house, which is him, but the Lord of the geniture, the most powerful, the most dignified planet in a chart. Because it symbolizes the native's best qualities, and I think it's very closely related to to the main characters of the Sandman series, the Endless, the Seven Endless. So it's, without much doubt, it is Saturn here. It's the only planet in its own house. It's in the 8th, but I think it's fitting. No other planet comes close to it. The strongest planet in his chart, the Lord of his geniture, is the Lord of Time, the planet related to limits and bounds, to death, to darkness, to everything that is hard, to persistence, to temperance, to self-restraint, to steadfastness. It's the best planet to have around when we want to study, to write, to understand something difficult. It's not the best planet to bring to a party, but we're not talking about a party anyway. It rules the 8th house, the house of death. It rules the 9th, the house of religion, of long journeys, of dreams. And the 10th, the house of the career, the house of the authority. I'm not going to any other detail, just point out here that the only two planets above the Earth are Saturn and Jupiter, so they are the only planets visible, and they were the only two planets visible when Mr. Gaiman was born. And Saturn is not only in the 8th house, but it is opposed to Mars. It's separated in opposition. It's not very close, but it's close enough for us to notice. So let's try and look at, by looking at this chart, to locate the 7 Endless. They are in order of I don't know, birth or seniority: destiny, death, dream, destruction, despair and desire, and delirium, which once was delight, as the story goes. So death is the easiest one, right? Saturn is the best planet in the chart. It's on the 8th house, on the cusp of the 8th house. So it naturally rules death. And it's funny because death is a very nice character in the series, and it's the best planet in the chart. Saturn is not usually described as adorable, but if there is any kind of adorable Saturn, it would be Saturn in Capricorn. And death is not usually described as adorable, but if there is any death character that could be called like that, it would be this death, the brother of dream, the sister of dream, sorry. Right? There is no reason for us to assume that as we have 7 planets, each one of them will be one of the endless. Destiny is clearly also Saturn. Saturn is the planet of time, and it seems to be prominent in this chart by location, by engagement, by a lot of, by being the Lord of the Genitor. And it does not, it is in the 8th, it rules the 8th, but it doesn't rule only the 8th. It also rules the 10th, the house of authority, of, as it were, of the rule from above, which is what destiny is, especially in the series. and the character, the way he's drawn, the way he acts, the way he talks, it's all very Saturn linked. Destruction, the endless that left, that abandoned his duty, his role, left his dominion, and anyway, decided not to be one of the seven anymore. I think it's Jupiter, and I'll tell you why. Jupiter it is in Capricorn. Capricorn is a place in which Jupiter is not comfortable. It's his fall. He doesn't want to be there. And it's the house of Saturn, of destiny, of roles, of limits, which this destruction didn't like when he was one of the seven, and he didn't start to like when he left it. Even his own limits, the limits related to being destruction, were too much for him. And it's also the exaltation of Mars, of destruction, of the planet of expansion in a sign of limit and conflict. That sounds like destruction to me. Something expanding in a place where it shouldn't expand, and in a place prone to strife. It sounds like destruction. Okay, desire. Desire could be the first suspect. The prime suspect would be Venus. But Gaiman builds desire around an androgynous characterization. And Mercury is a planet that has no definite gender. It rules the fifth here, the house of pleasure and fun and desire, in a sense. And it's conjunct the sixth, a very unfortunate house, sorry. And desire is disruptive, and Mr. Gaiman makes he puts a very strong emphasis on that. He really wants desire not only to be seen as not male nor female, but also to be seen as disruptive and aggressive and nasty, even toward his/her own kind. Let's go to her twin, Desire. She's depicted as a very short, naked, round, very pale woman with an unpleasant look and an iron hook on her hand that she uses to hurt herself. Iron is a metal ruled by Mars, and Mars is in its own fall here. It's and it's in a sign of water and in a sign of the moon, so something Marsy, but uncomfortable or unpleasant in a sign of the moon. I think this describes I think this around moony kind of figure, but with this Mars attitude and this Mars thing and looking uncomfortable, it describes despair very well. It is opposite to Saturn, but it doesn't mean she hates anything related to Saturn, death or destiny. It's her nature. The nature of despair is to be unpleasant, and it's in Cancer, not only the sign of the moon but the exaltation of Jupiter. And despair in the series simply adores her brother Destruction, and she lives at the other side of the mirror, and the moon is the giant mirror in the sky. Delirium. Again, the first candidate for Delirium, as the case with Desire. The first candidate was Venus. The first candidate for Delirium would be the moon, because the moon is related to the mind, etc. But she doesn't particularly fit the character. It's in Leo, melancholic, in an earth, in a fire sign. Sorry, a fixed sign. It didn't look like it to me. On the other hand, Venus is the only planet in a mutable sign. It rules the 12th, the house of self-undoing, the house of mental issues. And Venus is the planet of love, harmony, and delight. And Delirium was once delight. Okay, the last one. Morpheus, Oniros, Dream. Sorry for the anticlimax. Sorry for the disappointment in the end, but it's also Saturn. It doesn't get more Saturn-like than him, all dressed in black, pale, never smiling. And Saturn rules the 9th house. And it names the series, and it rules the 10th. Central character of the first, not the first, but the breakthrough comic series Neil Gaiman wrote. And his image is all Saturn. It's black, tall, pale, with a black crow, lives alone in his castle, makes few friends. It's all Saturn. Set in his ways. He can change, he doesn't move, he doesn't exceed his own limits. He is very conscious of his own responsibilities. He abandons his domain and his castle not because he wants it. It's always every time he does it, it's against his will or to fulfill a task or anything like that. Okay, this is a very broad assessment. All the characters have more than that. There's a kind side to Destruction. There is a mercurial and even a solar side to Dream, etc. But I think this pins the most basic and important aspects of the characters. Anyway, I hope you liked it. Sorry for stuttering too much. The next video I'm going to show the solar return for the year the Sandman was first published. See you then. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. And